Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. I'm so proud to be able to say that. I love having Citizens Bank as a sponsor of my studio. We're here to celebrate the wonderful Mississippians who are working all across this state to make its state such a great place to live, work, and play. Have a great couple of guests today. We'll get to them here in just a second. You know, when I first started the show, I shared pretty regularly quotes that my friend Stacy Waldrop, again, I mentioned about her that she's one of the most positive people I know. Her husband Terry and I are like brothers, and she posts things from time to time, and I've shared a ton of stuff that she shared, and as I continue to kind of focus on, I want to do more sharing like that. I started finding it from other sources, but every now and then I come back to Stacy and what she posts. And she posted this the other day from Maya Angelou that I thought was really, really good. It said, here's what Maya Angelou said. My wish for you is that you continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness. Continue to allow humor to lighten the burden of your tender heart. To me, what that says is that, we do live in a mean world from time to time. That is for sure. But that, first of all, we should all do our part. We should all take advantage of opportunities we have to do acts of kindness. And at the end of the day, humor is a really big deal. Being able to be with family members and friends, and just, even if you're, in your own thoughts and see something funny, it's cool. I believe that humor can lighten the burden of our hearts. And I think, when you say tender hearts, our hearts, I think, get more tender because of the mean world that we're in. And certainly as social media, as I've talked about social media so many times, social media has a way of delivering some punches that probably shouldn't be thrown. But people are willing to do and say things on social media they would never say to someone's face. But I love that quote. I think it's a terrific quote. And I thank my friend Stacy Waldrop for posting it. And one other that I'll share, Margaret Mead, you may remember her. She's the famed anthropologist. She died actually back in November 1978. But here's what she said. I was wise enough to never grow up while fooling most people into believing I had. I thought that applied to me. I was wise enough to never grow up while fooling most people into believing I had. I feel like I'm a child at heart. I really do. I have always enjoyed, coaching kids, being around kids. I love being around my grandkids. When they come in the house, they want to know where Pawpaw is, and we're going to go throw the ball and just have fun. And I love having sort of that youthful exuberance around me. But I'm a child at heart, and I don't deny it. And that's one of the things that I think has kept me healthy for a long period of time. Okay, now let's shift gears and move over to my friend Hunter Dawkins. He's a SuperTalk Mississippi contributor. He's a publisher and owner of the Gazebo Gazette here in coastal Mississippi, and a regular on my show, someone I love checking in with. How you doing, Hunter?
Ricky, I'm doing well, and I definitely know your youthfulness being able to put with going fishing. And I know you and your family enjoy fishing. And just like you told me before, that the fishing makes the family last longer or something to that effect. So
a family that fishes together stays together. I feel like a family that enjoys the outdoors together stays together. So whatever that might be. Sure. And, I'm really committed to that, and have found a way to sort of get in touch with my own soul by being in the outdoors with my kids and now my grandkids. It's very special. We've talked about this on my show several times recently, that the older we get, it seems that Christmas comes faster. I was telling Ann this morning, maybe we're just more aware of it, because we're older and we're more aware of time, that is. And as we get older, we don't take it for granted. And the more we don't take it for granted, the faster it goes by. But that's pretty real, isn't it, my friend?
Of course, it's, I know you have an idea of working as a publisher for the newspaper, and you think you start off the year and it'll be a long year, and then sure enough, 2 days later it feels like Christmas pops up. So.
Listen, I enjoyed catching up with you because not only do you run your own newspaper, and not only do you provide tremendous contributions to SuperTalk Mississippi Media, you just pay close attention. You cover the Saints, you cover the Pelicans. You're interested in a lot of different topics. You're a small business owner, so there's a lot to talk about. Hey, so it's Monday. We didn't have a game yesterday. Saints had a bye week. They picked a good week to have a bye week with all the injuries they got. But man, that game against the Vikings, it was hard to watch. A game where they should have gone in and really played well. Once again, a running quarterback ate them alive in the first half. They just can't seem to put it all together, can they, Hunter?
It's a Jekyll and Hyde performance. Now, of course, you see guys, such as A.T. Perry, a couple of defensive guys, coming forward and presenting some new help for us. But I say us, but the Saints organization, it's still there's as 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and it's unfortunate, and they need to be able to get things corrected pretty soon, or the coaching line and the playing line is going to start getting pink slips, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's we did not expect to be 5-5 at this step of the game.
Not with the schedule that we're playing, at least. So.
Especially with the schedule we're playing, which is actually the next point that I was going to make, and that is, do the Saints have a dominant defense, or have they just been playing mediocre teams? And, go ahead.
Yeah, what I'll say about that, Ricky, is that the defense has not necessarily been going against what they've been told to do. Now, I'm not necessarily critical of the coaching, but from what the different levels of defense they've been playing, for instance, last week against the Vikings, you wanted to see a bigger pass rush, with the blitz. Well, when everybody was complaining about where's our pass rush, where's our this, where's our that, then they finally started to pass rush, and then the Vikings already knew things were going to take place, and so they, of course, made some plays. And it's that sort of statute of, okay, well, we're doing it now because we have to. Well, you don't need to start, coaching mentality. You need to be able to move things around. You need to be creative. For instance, I know the Saints in the first half have been playing zone defense all the way across the board, which is great if you have teams with long distance third downs. They've not been having long distance third downs because the quarterback rushing the ball has been a big problem for us, at least having outside linebackers contain and things as such. I know that's a lot of information right there, but that's essentially being able to be creative in the play calling on defense and in offense. Instead of running the screen passes on the sidelines, let's find a slant across the middle. That's where teams have been opening up for us. And finally, when we did that, we got some yardage, but a little too late. We're down by certain number of points. We have to NFL. You can't exactly just be down by 3 touchdowns and come back. It's a long process.
It's interesting. I mean, the statistics. I mean, the Saints overwhelmingly win when Taysom Hill gets a certain number of plays.
Absolutely.
And I think we went to him a couple of times. He had some missed passes, but at the end of the day, when we don't include him in the offense in a pretty consistent way, we don't win.
But even so, Ricky, not only having him on the field as a decoy or something that causes, the defensive to line up, other ways, that's at least something that we need to work on. But, of course, the Saints organization, they have, coaching philosophies against schemes and things as such, which, I'm very wary to be critical of, schemes and things as such, because they're seeing a lot more than the fans, the average fans. However, I think that a little bit of, studying things and how we do things in the New Orleans Saints organization, how they do things. They need to come forward and do things better what they do instead of worrying about other teams. If you get my drift.
Yeah, they've got some work to do. It's not too late, but more, they are running out of time fast. Hey, listen, coming over to the Pelicans, they had a really, really dominant performance against Dallas last week. And but all the buzz is about Zion can't seem to find his fit. We'll talk more about that when we come back on the other side, when we continue our conversation with my friend Hunter Dawkins, who owns the Gazebo Gazette. He's a publisher there, and he's a major contributor to SuperTalk Mississippi Media, and also actually he does Gulfport High ball games at night. So we'll see him after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. I have my friend Hunter Dawkins with me. He's a small business owner, owns the Gazebo Gazette. He's a contributor to SuperTalk. He's a jack of all trades. You got to be a jack of all trades when you run a small newspaper. And I don't know how he does what he does, covering college, Pelicans, Saints. He did color for Gulfport High football games. We'll come back to high school sports here in just a second. A little disappointing that all turned out the way it did here for coastal Mississippi. But we're talking about the Pelicans and going into a really important game with the Dallas Mavericks last week. There was a lot of heat. If you go back and look on the internet, a lot of heat on Zion. Like here's a Yahoo Sports headline. Zion says he's taking a back seat with Pelicans, trying my best to buy in right now. But then he goes to the Dallas game and plays a really good game, so much so that one of the top centers in the NBA, Luka, was under a lot of heat because of the way he played. But which is to say that when Zion's on his game, he's hard to defend. What's your read on where the Pelicans are right now?
Well, I like what I saw last night, Ricky, or last week pretty much, because I like where they're going, because they're using Zion, but not exactly focused on Zion. They're using more of their guard play. Brandon Ingram, Jordan Hawkins, the rookie from UConn, has really stepped up and been a great shooter, at least, and they're finding little bits and pieces. Najee Marshall, even Jonas, the big guy, is really getting involved, not only defensively but offensively. Herb Jones has actually found his shot, which I thought he was just a defensive specialist, but he's making some shots. And I think with inclusion of every single other person, minus CJ McCollum, who's hurt right now, but when he comes back, that inclusion is really helping, I think, the team focus on instead of just all focused on Zion. And that, to me, that's why he gets open. He's gotten open the last few games for alley-oops and things, because the defense of the other teams are not focused on him. And I think that's an important measure that both Willie Green and the Pelicans organization has done a great job.
I think it's smart too, Hunter, because by moving the ball around, they're keeping everybody in play. Everybody's having a role in winning when they win. Their schedule's their win-loss record's not what it should be at this stage of the game, but it's way early in the season. They're still kind of putting it all together. I think they have to live with the reality that so far Zion's career has been limping down the shoulder on the rim with injuries. And if you make him your solid guy that everybody's feeding the ball to, then what happens when he gets injured? I think that strategically, the long haul, the fact that you saw it last year, they had a great head of steam, but Zion didn't go into the new year with them because of injuries again. This is going to give them the ability to not only spread the ball out and win. If he were to get injured, they won't be trying to rebuild something. They're just building off of something. I think it's kind of smart.
I think you're certainly right, and I think Willie and the executive vice president David Griffin have been working on that, being able to develop team strategies. Looking towards other people. Not necessarily even as focused on Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum. They're just trying to work on, okay, if this person's off, then it's this person's day. There's always going to be somebody that's going to have a good, solid day, and they need to find out who that person is at the start of the game or along when they're on the court. So.
Yeah. Hey, Hunter, looking back on the election, I've had a couple conversations, had a really terrific conversation last week with Ashley Edwards about it. You've had two really strong Democratic candidates in Jim Hood and now Presley. There seems to be a Republican wall in Mississippi, and I don't know. I know that Tate has some distractors, but at the end of the day, Mississippi is a red state. That's what we learned from this election, isn't it?
Well, and that being said, Ricky, I had a good conversation with SuperTalk's David Hughes last week, and I talked to David and I said, well, there are people down here, because I'm just really focused on the Gulf Coast community. There are people down here that are not necessarily 100% behind Tate Reeves, but they would rather go with him across the boat than finding somewhere else with somebody else that they have no knowledge of how they're going to act, that they can talk to people associated with the Reeves administration, being able to work out compromises and deals that may not work necessarily on everybody's wish list, but they feel more comfortable with that than going the other direction.
Yeah, it was a red wave when you think about Shad White and his strong performance, and Michael Watson and Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann.
Statewide, undoubtedly statewide, this conservative party is definitely the
and it's also interesting to see that if you take the I-59 corridor to the west of the I-59 corridor, which is you have the Mississippi Delta, a lot of rural communities tend to lean more Democrat, and to the east of I-59 tend to lean more Republican. And of course, the coast is a Republican stronghold. But at the end of the day, what we have is a state that if you could have gotten a Democratic vote out, it might have made it closer. Usually you see Democratic turnout being stronger, but Jim Hood couldn't get good Democratic turnout. Presley, with over $12 million spent, couldn't get it either. I think it bodes well for the Republican Party. Now, I hope Republican Party now takes this moment and quit polarizing, because I'm conservative, but quit polarizing this state. Let's bring the state together. Let's be leaders. Let's go solve some problems. Let's go solve the healthcare problem. What was done, prior to this election is not nearly enough, and we've got to get our arms around it, because we've got rural hospitals that are closing, they're threatening to close, and it's a big time issue. It's not typically on coastal Mississippians, radar screens, but I spend a lot of time in the Mississippi Delta. I know what it looks like, and it's not good, Hunter. We got big problems to solve in this state.
Well, and Ricky, as well as you mentioned, this is not the healthcare issue is not something partisan, and nor should it ever be. But more importantly to you and to our community down here, the tourism industry, and you and I have spoken about this. Tourism healthcare is a part of this, because people, they come and live here. They want to live here, but they want to know that they can be provided coverage to where things can work out in their direction. There are other people that are looking for jobs. We've always been very successful on the Mississippi Gulf Coast with being a job market. Why is that not available in the healthcare industry? And Dave and I talked about this too last week. It was really there was a little bit of caution on the step of going after it 100%, but there needs to be discussion. That's the important thing about the conservative victory and Jason White, who is going to be the Speaker of the House, said that there needs to be some discussion, open the floor, not necessarily saying they're going to accept it, but there needs to be discussion.
No, I think, look, as it relates to Medicaid expansion, I feel strongly Mississippi needs to do it, because by not doing it, we've been saying no to billions of dollars year after year after year. The accruing of that has had a fundamentally negative impact on hospitals in Mississippi. But you should do some hybrid if you have to. Look at Arkansas and look at some other states and what they've done with some hybrid approach. I think the lieutenant governor is very open to, let's open it up and let's look at it. Let's see what the benefit's going to be. Can we stop the closure of business of hospitals across the state? Jason White comes from a rural area of Mississippi. This is on his mind, and he said as much, as you pointed out. So, will the governor be more open to having these kind of conversations? What does a hybrid approach look like? Or will he be thinking about where he wants to be 4 years from now? Does he want to run for senator or whatever he wants to do? And it's just going to be a political calculus instead of a calculus that says what's best for Mississippi in the long run as it relates to health care. I don't know the answers. And then, we talk a lot about mental health on this show a lot. I have a particular interest in teen suicide that have become a real problem. But mental health is something we've got to be focused on as well. I had a terrific conversation with Judge Trent Favre recently about why it's important to focus on mental health. Is often a factor in so many of the cases that he deals with. And it's something that stays on your mind as well, isn't it?
Of course, absolutely. And, as I when speaking with Dave last week, it was about my discussion with him came out to about 2 years ago, and I think you remember with the Board of Supervisors. That discussion is something that I think we need to talk about later.
Yeah, I think we will. Listen, the next time we're on together, we'll talk about holiday events. Man, we're in that time of year. I know that's something near and dear to your heart, but we're out of time for today. It's been great to catch up with you, my friend.
Hey, you take care of yourself, and anything I can do for you guys, you let me know. And I hope the holiday season is a little bit cooler, but
no doubt. Hey, when we come back, we'll have Adele Lyons from the Coast Chamber join me. We'll see you after this break.